Going live. This may be about a minute early. We're still getting a little bit of feedback, I think, from the phone, even though I have muted the camera. What are we making here? We're making a high veggie dish, right? So this channel is all about being healthy, what I think it means to be healthy, and you can follow me or not, right? So if I can coerce you, cajole you, shake you up and say, hey, eat a few more plants in your diet, then I have accomplished what I am trying to set out to accomplish. Today, we're going to make a cabbage stir fry. I steal recipes off of the internet. If they have oil, I am cooking on the show, forks over knives, hardcore, no oil, no salt, no sugar. I would suggest the less of the processed stuff that you can put in your diet, the better your diet will be. If you can limit the amount of meat, if you're following a Mediterranean diet, that's probably really good. I'm thinking you don't have to be. What I'm going to try to get you to do is eat more whole plants in your diet. That's the big thing. So having said that, are we going to use some stuff that isn't whole plant? Yes, we're going to use some noodles today, not whole plant. We are going to use some tofu today. Not whole plant, right? It's processed. The more minimally processed it is, the better. So I'm going to suggest to you white flour, bleached, all that stuff. You lose a lot of the phytonutrients that are in the plant. Once again, if you buy canned beans, they're probably a little less healthy for you, but I would rather see you eating beans than a steak every meal, right? So maybe a steak every once in a while is okay, but I would suggest that the American diet, where it's mainly hamburgers and steaks every meal, probably not the healthiest. And if you don't agree with that, find somebody else to follow. But I'm trying to get you to eat some veggies. Having said that, let's going to turn some heat on here. I've got some water. I'm going to bring it to a boil. I've got some veggies. I've got mushrooms and cabbage in here. We're going to cook that till it gets some of the water down, right? So we're going to turn the heat on that one. So both of these, I've got gas. I like gas because you can effectively change the heat quickly. So if you're cooking too fastly, you can adjust it quickly. My only concern with electric is it takes a lot longer for the heating coil to heat up and cool off, right? So you can change the speed at which you're cooking with the turn of a dial. That's why I like gas. Also, you can use water to slow your cooking down. So having said this, in this recipe, they have just cabbage that they are putting in a well-heated wok or skillet. We haven't done that. You do it for 3 to 5 minutes. So right now, I'm just going to try to keep going back and forth here and looking at how this is cooking to determine when I need to start adding some of the other ingredients. We're also using garlic. And is this the best? No. Getting the whole plant is the best. This has a little bit of citric acid. In my opinion, citric acid is not bad. When you getting into some of the things that you can't pronounce that they add into foods, that's when you start going wrong. You get too many preservatives. You get too many flavor chemicals in there. Doritos have a lot of flavor chemicals, and limit those. Maybe go to something else. They add a lot of flavor, but are they healthy? I don't know. You get to decide. So we also got a lot of spices over here. We're going to probably put this on the soy when we cook that. We're going to do some crispy tofu to add into this after we get the vegetables cooked down. We're going to be using rice vinegar, mirin, tamari, and soy sauce. So what's the big difference between tamari and soy sauce? Not a whole lot, but tamari doesn't have any wheat in it. Soy sauce does. So if you're on a gluten-free diet, you might want to go with tamari. Vinegar and mirin. Mirin has a small amount of alcohol in it. It is a wine, a rice wine. Vinegar does not have alcohol in it. Also, the process of making mirin, it's a little sweeter. They don't add sugar to it, but in the process, it makes it sweeter. So it's got some natural sugars in it. I would suggest to you that when you look at whole plants, it's a totality of all the chemicals that are in there, and that is what drive flavors. That are some of the phytonutrients that are in there, all those things. So I can hear the vegetables kind of cooking. So I'm going to try to stir this a little bit. This is a stir fry, right? So we're going to try to get these vegetables kind of moved around so that we don't have completely raw ones in with completely cooked ones, right? That's kind of, and a wok, I need to get a wok because there's a lot more surface area in a wok. I have a pretty big pan here, but it's pretty overflowing. These veggies are going to cook down. And I'm going to put the timer on for about 5 minutes and just see what we do here. So turning my kitchen timer on, setting it to 5 minutes, and we're going to start that. And as I talk to you, my big thing is a lot of times I don't pay attention while I'm talking to you and cooking. The show's going to get better. Maybe I'm going to get some more people involved. Maybe I'll get some people that are some camera people so that I can just talk while I'm cooking. We're also going to use another whole plant, leeks. Leeks are in the alum family. Very mild compared to onions. We're also going to be using some green onions. We're also going to be using some cilantro at the end, right? So the original recipe did not have mushrooms, but I love mushrooms, and I saw some mushrooms, so I'm like, I'm just going to add this to the dish. What the hell? When you're cooking with mushrooms, they are going to release a lot of water. Cabbage will also. So we are cooking without oil. So once again, if you're using like a stainless steel cookware, you got to be careful so it doesn't stick to the side, right? So my wife gets mad at me. So I'm going to have to clean this pretty quickly when we get done. So she's not going to notice, hey, it got a little bit black from the stuff that was cooking in it. We're going to try to cook this down a little bit. Then we're going to add our other ingredients. I minced up some ginger that you can see here. Once again, I would like to get a folding cutting board, I think, just because it would make life a lot easier. So in this dish, they said to add the avocado oil, which we're not using, leeks, ginger, and garlic, right? So our leeks, we've pre-cut up in about 1/2-inch rounds, rings, whatever you want to call those. A couple of leeks. I didn't use all the leeks. I didn't get all the way down to the green. So this is the white part of the leek. I've got probably a little more than what it calls for, a heaping tablespoon of ginger. That may be a little bit more than a tablespoon. And we're going to put a tablespoon of garlic, right? So I do the Rachel Ray method of measuring. This is not technically a tablespoon. It's just a bigger spoon. If you get a pack of spoons, if you get a tableware set of silverware, the bigger spoons, I just call that a tablespoon. So we're going to put this amount of ginger in there. This was the plant. I minced it up before the program. I like to use a spoon to scrape off the skin of the ginger, and then I just take a knife over it until it comes out to here. This is what I would call minced. This is minced, but it's been pre-minced. It's got a little bit of citric acid in there. So let's get back here and get this cabbage cooking down. We've got our mushrooms cooking down. We're going to just try to move these around a little bit so that you don't have some that are just completely black and some that are cooked. Right? We are going to release a lot of water. I'm looking at my water. It's getting some bubbles, so it's getting close to a boil. We're going to put our spaghetti in there. Once again, we use chickpea pasta. The original recipe called for udon noodles. When I went to the store, there were a lot of things that were labeled udon noodles, but none of them had buckwheat in it. So I decided to go with the chickpea. Traditional, real udon noodles are made from buckwheat. A lot of stuff that is advertised as udon noodles in the American grocery stores are not really udon noodles. They're used from other kinds of flour and just made thicker, right? So a traditional, if you went to Japan and found an udon noodle, it's made from buckwheat. And it also is, it's an udon noodle and it's very thick. They make it very thick traditionally, right? So a lot of times in America, they don't use buckwheat flour. My wife is Ukrainian. A lot of the people from Eastern Europe, Russia, and those kind of places eat buckwheat whole. Pretty cool. So we're going to add our leeks, our leeks, and our ginger, and our garlic. We're going to add a tablespoon. I'm going to rinse the spoon off. Garlic. I love garlic. If you're not a garlic lover, I think you should be. And ginger. We're going to give this a good stir with the spatula. We're also going to see what our water is starting to boil. We're going to break these in half. We're going to put the whole thing in there. We're going to go for another 11 minutes. Once again, we probably, if I had a wok that was a little better, that would. This recipe called for just regular cabbage. I used Napa cabbage and purple cabbage. It's going to give it a little bit more color. I'm going to turn the heat down a little bit. This is cooking a little faster than I want. I may also add a little bit of water to just kind of slow the cooking process down, because I am getting some of these vegetables that are getting a little black, which is okay, but it means a harder clean job at the end. So we're going to let that cook a little bit longer. I've turned that down a little bit. I've got my pasta here. This is chickpea pasta. Regular pasta works, but I like to, once again, like I said, I think that the best nutrition comes from whole plants. So is pasta whole plants? No, it's processed. A little bit of processing probably isn't bad. A lot of processing probably is, in my opinion. So I'm going to break these just so that they fit in the pot a little easier, nicer. I'm going to push this pasta down a little bit. We're going to put the timer on for 11 minutes. We're going to let that cook down. We're going to set that timer for 11 minutes. We're going to start it. I'm going to put the lid back on. We're going to let that pasta get warm. We're going to watch our cabbage here. Let it get a little bit more cooked through. We're going to move it around. Some of the stuff is getting a little soft on the bottom. Some of the stuff on top is not hitting the bottom of the pan. So I would love to get these leeks. If I were to do this again, I might get the leeks on first, because I think it's going to take a little while to get those cooked down. So once again, I've got another pan over here, probably a little thick for what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to cut the tofu up. I'm going to put some seasoning on it. We're going to let the bottom of that get warm. I'm going to take the tofu. I've already rinsed the tofu. We're going to just cut that in a little bit smaller pieces. I like a really big knife. I've told you that before. I don't know if you've watched any of my shows. Why do I like a really thick knife? Because I think it's a little harder to cut yourself when you have a really thick knife. We're going to also cut this in half. I'm being careful because I don't want to cut myself. I am vegan. I don't want to see my own blood. So this might get a little... so I'm going to just kind of coat these with a little bit of, this is black garlic. A little bit of pepper. A little bit of turmeric. And then I've got a little bit of, and I'm going to break some of my rules here. I'm using this everything bagel seasoning. It's got salt, right? So what's the biggest thing? Salt. Salt will affect your blood pressure, right? So it is my belief the more salt you have in your diet, the worse it is for you. So we're going to try to go back in here with the knife. We're going to dump those on the bottom. We're going to try to get those a little bit crispy. We're going to turn that heat down a little bit. We're going to do the same thing with this batch. A little bit of black garlic. A little bit of black pepper. I love black pepper, so I may do more than just a little bit. We're going to do a little bit of turmeric. Turmeric is really good for you. Used a lot in Indian and Asian cooking. We're going to throw these in there also. Like I said, I try to keep this show limited to about 30 minutes. Get some of those spices. Get things cooking. We're going to put some more spices on here while it's cooking. Let that heat up. I'm going to turn the water down. My pasta has boiled over a little bit, opening that up, turning the heat down. Once again, it's about paying attention while you're cooking. And sometimes when I'm talking to you guys, I don't do the greatest job doing that. So our cabbage creation is getting close to where I think that I would like it. I would like my mushrooms and my leeks to be a little bit more cooked down. If I did this again, I would probably start with the leeks. At a half an inch, it's going to take a little bit of time for those leeks to cook down to the consistency that I would like. So I think that I would not cook the cabbage first. Would be something that I would experiment with. Cooking to me is a process where you experiment with what you like and what you don't like and figure it out as you go. So I think that looks amazing. We're going to turn the cabbage down a little bit even more. We're going to let that cook through a little bit more. Try to get the leeks more on the bottom of the pan so that they kind of soften up a little bit. I want my veggies pretty soft for this. We're going to try to flip the tofu around, get the heat a little bit on all sides of this. And see how that tastes when we're done. We're going to put some cilantro and some green onion in this. I'm just going to use scissors basically to cut that on top of the dish. I didn't realize that I had some green onions from before. I like to just cut them with scissors. The green onions are going to have a little bit harsher taste than the leeks. I'm going to let those soften up. I'm also going to put a little bit of onion on this, just for the looks of it also, after we're done here. Oh, I forgot my a little bit of rice vinegar, a little bit of tamari, low salt, soy sauce, and a little bit of mirin, which I've never used before. We're going to see how that tastes. Where did my spatula go? We're going to kind of stir this around a little bit. Get those flavors all nice and going in there. We've got about 4 more minutes of pasta. We're going to go ahead, pasta off. We're going to drain the pasta. We're going to put that in a bowl. And we've been going about 20 minutes. Like I said, I like to keep these 30 minutes or less. Kind of like a colander. This is what our pasta looks like. We're going to put a little bit of that in one of our bowls here. We may even have time to plate this because this particular dish takes a lot less time to make. These noodles are probably a little overdone for some people. It did call for 11 minutes, but I think it was supposed to be at a simmer. Once again, cooking is also about watching what you're doing. We're just going to mix this all around. We're going to plate a little bit of this. This is what it looks like so far. I'm going to put a little bit more onion on it, a little bit more cilantro on it. All right, guys, that's it for this week. This is a cabbage stir fry. It's got a little bit of protein with your tofu. And we're going to see you back next Saturday. If you have some suggestions for what we should cook on our next show, I would love to hear from you. If you would like to cook with us, I would love to hear from you. Come and join us and let's cook. Have a great Saturday, and we will talk to you next Saturday. Bye.